So let us start the session. Can you please tell me, Gargi, how many blood components do you know? Blood is composed of blood cells which are
containing some hemoglobin, hemoglobin.
Which is present in red blood cells. And
Yes. And hemoglobin could contain.
When we say components, we are supposed to say components. So components would be Ramanan. Yes, Megha.
The components of blood, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets.
Very good. Who will tell me what are the different varieties of white blood cells which are present?
There are 4, right?
You tell me.
Lymphocytes,
Hmm.
monocytes, neutrophils,
Hmm.
basophils.
Hmm. And one that you missed out is eosinophil, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So even if you are mute, please repeat it wherever you are. We have got 5 kinds of WBCs: neutrophils, which are also called as polymorphs, then lymphocytes, basophils, eosinophils, and monocytes. What is the function of neutrophils? Anyone?
Fighting against fungi and bacteria.
Very good. What is the function of lymphocytes?
Virus, against virus.
Very good. What is the function of eosinophils?
Allergies.
It participates in allergic reaction. What is the function of basophils? It is also participating in allergic reaction. What does macrophages do? Monocytes.
Cleans up.
They clear the debris. They will clear the debris whichever is there. So we have, when we say there are components of blood, we have plasma. You remember the diagram? It separates into 3 parts. The biggest percentage is that of plasma. And then around 45% we have got red blood cells. Only 1% has got WBCs, which has also got platelets. That much is clear? Now plasma has got proteins, other kind of proteins. Okay. Also, plasma will be the one thing which we will be taking to check different kinds of disease presence, like typhoid, right? Like your IgG, IgM you see in dengue. So all those things, for all those things, we take the help of plasma. This is separated so that we can separate it and take it out and check it separately with different reagents. So this is basically about the blood components. Now tell me, how many blood groups are there? Yeah, there are many different systems of blood groups, but we are right now concerned with majorly 2. One is ABO and other is RH. Okay, these are the 2 groups of blood group which we are concerned with. We have seen that if we take care of the compatibility of these blood groups, then more or less we are safe. We do not end up into a reaction which might result into patient's death. Okay, so what are the blood groups? We have A, B, AB, and O, right? So we have 4 blood groups. And yesterday I had told you that it basically depends on the presence of antigen. So A is like the label for A house. Okay, the label for A house was green. So these are the different antigens which are present on the red blood cells. And they say that they are A blood group. When they say they are A blood group, they also are ready to fight against any other blood group, which is specifically B, right? So they will be ready with antibodies for B. They have antigens for A. Is that understood? Very good. Now we have another blood group, which is B, which will be having the B antigens. The labeling for B is B, and all the red blood cells will be labeled with B antigen. They will have an antibody against which blood group?
A.
Very good. So those which are having both A and B antigen. They will be having antibodies for
Oh,
A and B will have, nobody. They don't have antibodies for anybody. They are ready to take up any blood because they are not going to fight. They don't have any because they have the label. They say you're coming from A house, fine, you're welcome. You're coming from B house, fine, you're welcome. If you're coming from O house, that also is fine. And why is that? Why is that fine? Because they don't have any antigens. Is that clear? Very good. Now, one more thing yesterday that I had said in a very speedily fashion, whenever you have to, everybody gets one gene from their father and one gene from their mother. That is clear, right? So when they come together, they will decide the blood group. If you are getting A gene from your father and B gene from your mother, or in an ulta fashion, you will get AB, right? So that will become AB. The way to become a B blood group would be that if either you are receiving both B from your both parents, that B you are receiving from father, B you are receiving from mother, that is BB. Tarun had this discussion that one is A is dominant, right? You had mentioned it in your this thing. So here with blood group, what is important is A and B are both dominant. So if these are present, if they come together, both of them will express each other. Is this clear to you? Ramnan, are you getting it? Very good. So what we are going to see now, this is our A blood group. Okay. In this A blood group, the father has also given A, the mother has also given A. So the expression of the antigen is A. Understood? Okay.
Yes,
very good. Now, in this, can you see the father has given A, but the mother has given O. So, but which antigen is expressed?
A.
A. So both this case, that is AA and AO, will be called as A blood group. Is that clear? That's clear? Very good. Now, in the same manner, when we take B blood group, you get B from father, B from mother, and you get BB. That will represent B blood group. Okay? In the same way, when B is coming from father, but O is coming from mother, the antigen which is expressed is only B. So that will also become B blood group. Is that clear? Very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
So now when we have O blood group, it doesn't have any antigens. For O and O to become O, there should be no antigens. Is that clear? That is very good. So, and this is Gargi's blood group, or Jyotika's also, not Jyotika, Jyotika's sister, I think, right? AB. So they will express both A and B. That much is clear? Very good. Yes, tell me.
Yeah, I have a doubt that my mother's blood group is B positive,
Yes,
but my mother's parents are both O.
yes.
So how can that O give to B?
I think you need to find out your mother's parents' blood group again. If
Yeah.
both parents are O, it will not become B. Okay, that we have derived it. Don't make it into a legal kind of question. Okay, we can figure it out. But I have replied this to Atmika. If you can see the answer, I hope you are not only looking at the answers given to you, you are also looking at answers given to other people. Not right now, you can see later. So, like Atmika has both parents as O, right? So O and O will always give rise to O. It cannot be any other thing. Now, in earlier times, right? Because I will also show you in my presentation how basically the blood grouping is done. It used to be done very manually, and people used to come to the conclusion looking at the slides. Okay, so sometimes they could have committed mistakes. That is why every time we go and give blood, even if I tell my blood group is B positive, nobody is going to take it on my saying. Okay, they will test it again. They'll confirm it whether it is the same thing. So those kind of mistakes have happened. But if both parents are O, the blood group has to be O. It can be 2 positives can give rise to 1 negative. That is possible. But 2 O's cannot give rise to any other blood group because they don't have any other antigen expressing this. Is that clear?
Ma'am, I
Yes.
had a doubt. Yes, ma'am. My mom's blood group is O positive and her parents is B and A.
Yes, that is possible. Now, how is that possible? How is that possible? B and A, right? So we have got, this is one parent, B, right? This is another parent, A. Can you see? And both of them will give 1, 1, which is this. One is giving the O from here, another is giving the O from there. They will come together and they can become an O. That is possible. Okay? You understand that?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what I want you to do is, all of you should attempt this basic discussion considering your blood group or some kind of I mean, you can, if you want to hypothesize something and you want to do that, you can do that, but you should go do this exercise. That will clarify how we are deriving it. So earlier, in the earlier times, what they used to do was, they used to ask about, they used to think that blood group is very important for marriage, right? And you might have actually heard that blood groups decide personality types, or they decide your some kind of behavior pattern or character or something like that. Okay, so in earlier times they used to think like that. Why? Because if one person used to get married, if they had some kind of diseases which could be actually transmitted, they used to think that the blood type is causing it. Okay, but that was a mistake. That was not there. It was mostly because of sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis. In this age, it will be other blood transmitted diseases which can be hepatitis, HIV as well. Okay. So this thing, whether blood group decides your blood type decides your personality. A types are perfectionists, B types are creative, AB people are out of the world, so on and so forth. They are as good or as bad as astrology, and I'm actually not the person to comment on it, but science does not have any basis on this. Okay, so I mean, we can use our blood types to say anything like this. My blood type is the type that doesn't like to exercise. I mean, you can take it. You can make it say anything, but that is not how it is. So this is again just a revision. You see, group A has got A antigen, group B has B antigen, AB has AB, A and B antigen, group O will not have any antigens. There will be the opposite antibodies of each one. So group AB will have no antibodies, group O will have antibodies for both. So this is where Ramanan, where group AB, okay, can be the universal recipient, because any blood we give, it doesn't have antibodies. And group O, it doesn't have any antigen. So it can be universal donor. Is that clear? Is this clear till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. And this is the one table that you can basically remember, as I have shown in each example in your discussion. This thing, you have 2 genes, right? One from your father, one from your mother. So it will be coming. This is like only one gene has been taken, but this is the way the table goes. A will give A will give A, O will give O. What you have to remember is, A blood type can be AA and AO both. B blood type can be BB and BO, and AB will be AB, OO will be O. Is that clear? Okay, so this is what Deepak's was. So this is how you're supposed to do. Deepak, you understood it when you had asked me? Deepak is not answering. So Deepak's mother is O positive, right? So here, this is how we work it out. Like Deepak's mother is O positive, then the genotype will be OO only. Okay. Father is A. So his genotype can be AO or AA. So we are working both possibilities. So we have to work with the possibility that the OO genotype is going with AO or the OO genotype is going with AA. This is what we have worked out here. So we write OO and AO and we figure out, we find that 50% are AOs. That means 50% will be A blood type. Okay. 50% will be OO. So that decides that the 50% will be OO. Now, if we take it with AA and AO, we find that all of them become A. Okay. So I think it was in, I don't know whose case. So we can also reverse work it out. For example, if it is AB, right? So Jyotika, I am when you give the answer to me, you go backwards. Like your sisters is AB. So where are they coming from? You just try it out. I will help you. If you do this in your discussion group, we can actually clarify this. This is something which, if you learn it at the first go very properly, you will remember it forever. Okay. So this is with Rebecca. I think this you can go and you can ask me anything that you do not understand in the discussion group again, and I will definitely answer to my best possible this thing. Okay. Okay. Now we come to the factor D. What is factor D? That is RH. Okay. This is positive. What we call as RH positive or RH negative. So RH positive has to, so you see, this is, suppose this is the, there also will be two genes, right? One from father and one from mother. So either you will receive the gene of RH which expresses the RH factor, or you will receive the smaller one which does not express the RH factor. Is that clear? Right? So now here again it is very same, that if you're receiving it from your father D, from your mother D, it will become RH positive. Okay. If you're receiving the capital D from your father or mother and a small d from your other parent, then it will also become, Ramanan?
Positive.
Yes. So if there is one dominant D present, it will express as RH positive. If there are two dominant Ds present, that will also express as RH positive. Only and only if you have both of them as, the smaller Ds, only then it will become RH negative. Do you understand? Okay. So from each parent, you are receiving one gene. It can be the small d or it can be the big D, depending on what are they giving to you. Okay. Now, if the small and the big D come together, it will become RH positive. The big D's come together, it will again become RH positive. The only case when it will become RH negative is that both of them have to be the small D's. Clear? Okay. So this is where we are talking. See here, when both the parents are RH positive, right? This was the question. Rekha is positive and Sunil is negative. Okay. When Rekha is positive, we are taking D. There are two possibilities for Rekha to be positive. It can be the capital DD or it can be the capital D and small d. Okay. When Sunil is negative, the only possibility is both of them are small. Okay. So we will try to work out all the possibilities. We are taking possibility number 1, which is the capital DD with the small dd. In that case, we find all the children will become Rh positive. Okay. But if Rekha is positive, but her genotype is capital D and small d, then we find that there are 50% who becomes Rh positive, 50% who can be Rh negative. Okay. Now, when I say 50%, 50%, what I mean is that each child has a possibility of 50% being Rh positive or Rh negative. Do you understand this? What does that mean? That means that if there are 2 children, it is not that one will become positive, another will become negative. No. The first child has 50% chance of becoming positive or negative. The second child also has 50% chance of becoming positive and negative. The third child also has a chance of becoming positive or negative. Okay. So this chance is something which will be there with every child. So in a family, if you have 4 children, it is not that 2 children will become positive and 2 children will become negative. It is not like that. I hope you are getting it, right? Very good. So this is Atmika. Now this is where we had discussed. See, the mother is O, right? Mother can be O only if there is a genotype O. Father is O, the genotype has to be OO. There is no other way any other genotype will work. Okay. And in that case, the blood type will be O. Now, mother is Rh positive. Okay. The genotype can be DD or DD. These are the only 2 possibilities. Either both will be capital Ds or there will be one capital and one small. The father is Rh positive. So the genotype can be both capital Ds or this. So it is same because these are the possibilities. So there are now 4 possibilities. We have to find out like that. And what do we find? That only in the teeniest possibility, but there is a possibility. It is not that 2 Rh positive people marry, they will not have an Rh negative child. There is a possibility of Rh negative offspring possible. Is that clear? Clear to everybody? Very good. Okay, so this is just to tell you that what is different in A and B. What is different is their carbohydrate portion. Okay, one is N-acetyl galactosamine, another is N-acetyl glucosamine. Now, why is this important? This is important because if you have seen the chemical reaction, the reaction itself will be different. One is a hydrogen donor and another is a hydrogen recipient. Okay. So there is a difference of chemical reaction. So that will definitely affect how they will interact with their antibodies. This we have already seen, and this is important concept of codominance, that both A and B will be dominant and both of them will be expressed. This is just to show you. Yesterday I had shown you that how it is like a plug and the light system, right? So the antibodies are very specifically produced. So A antibody will be this. Can you see this hypervariable region, right? Can you see this antigen here? Can you see it?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah. So now this is the antigen binding site. And this, you can see there is a specific shape. And this antigen also has a specific shape. If you have got a very specific shape of the antibody, they will come together and react. Then only the antigen antibody. So there is a recognition which has to happen. Only when there is a recognition they will be coming together and clumping. In case of blood, in case of blood transfusion, if we do the mistake of transfusing the wrong blood, then there can be clumping because of this antigen antibody reaction. Okay, so this is antigen plus antibody and it will result into agglutination. And I hope. This is Rh antibody. In this Rh antibody, we have many antigens which are expressed. Okay. There are lots of antigens which are expressed by Rh antigen, what we call as Rh antigen. But the fact is all of them are either expressed or not expressed. So it is fine for us to consider it as big D and small d. Even if you don't remember this particular point, it's all right. We will come to this later. Let us see this. So this is how the blood typing used to be done. Okay. So they have, one is A, another one is for checking A, another is for checking B, the third one is checking for D. Okay. So how do they do it? They're writing it down, A, B, and D, right? Now they have the blood. They take the blood, a drop of blood, put it on the slide, on all the 3 slides, and then they will take the specific antibody. Now they're taking anti-A, okay? And they will put it on the A, on this first blood drop. They will take anti-B and put it on the second blood drop. And there is anti-D, which will be on the third blood drop. And then they will wait to watch what? They are mixing it together. And what are they waiting to watch for? Tarun, what is that they want to see?
Agglutination.
Yeah, agglutination. So there will be small. Now you can already see in B there is precipitate. Can you see?
Yeah.
Right? The B precipitate is very, very clear right now also. I will show you the next slide. So this is the crude method by which we used to do, right? Now this, if not done properly, if there is a problem with the reagent, there can be some mistakes sometimes. So confirming the blood group is important at all times. Okay. So this is what you got. Now what did you get? Can you see in D also there are clumps? And in B there is clump, and A there is no clump. Can you differentiate?
Yes.
Very good. So this is A, there is no clump, so it is not having A antigen. B, there is clump, that means B antigen has reacted with B antibody. That means there is clump, so this is B group. And we have D, which has also produced clump, so it is positive. So the conclusion is this is the blood group B positive. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So now just by looking at this reaction, what we find out is that if we are somehow, if there is some kind of reason where we are mixing the 2 bloods together, like A and B are coming in contact with each other, or positive or negative are coming in contact with each other, then there will be clumping. Okay, then there will be clumping. So that should not happen. Now, what we have also seen from our different examples of our blood group of our parents and such, that the Rh positive father, and there can be an Rh negative mother, and they can have an Rh positive child. Are you getting it? Rh negative child does not have any antigen. Is that clear? I mean, in consideration with D group, right? Now, specifically with pregnancy, what happens is that in the later part of pregnancy, the child's blood passes to the mother also. When the child's blood is passing through the mother and everything is compatible, it is all right. Okay. But if the child's blood is Rh positive and the mother's blood is Rh negative, then there is an infiltration of mother's blood with the baby's blood, which is Rh positive. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Okay. Now this Rh positive of the blood, it is the baby's blood, right? So it is only trickling, very less amount of blood. So what does it do? It goes to the mother's blood and informs the RBCs, see someone is coming attacking. It is a trickle of blood. So what do they say? Okay, fine. We are having an attack from Rh positive antigens. We are supposed to prepare an army. Okay. So during the first pregnancy, this is happening around after in the third trimester, that is the 7th, 8th, 9th month. So during that, so many antibodies are not yet produced in the mother to kill the child. Do you get it? Okay. It can kill many RBCs, but it doesn't actually clump the entire blood of the baby, or the baby doesn't clump the mother's blood completely. Yeah, so this is where we are. Okay. You understood one important thing, that if there is, if the Rh positive blood is given to the Rh negative person, it will be not accepted. There will be clumping. That much is clear? Rishikesh? That much is clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now what happens is that when there is an Rh negative woman, okay, and she has married an Rh positive man, this is important for you, though, especially for those people those females or girls who are Rh negative, they need to remember this. If they are Rh negative, if the mother is Rh negative, father is Rh positive, the possibility of the child being Rh positive is there. Okay. Now, when the child is carrying the Rh positive fetus in the tummy, right, in the uterus, there is a boundary. It is not mixing. So they are fine. Both the mother and the baby are fine. You understand this much? But late in gestation or during the birth, this baby who is having the Rh positive blood, it will go get into mother's body. That is understood? Very good. Once that blood is going into mother's body, the mother's body will decide that these antigens have to be destroyed. And where are these antigens present? These antigens are present in the baby and the blood which is coming to the mother. When you are attacking RBC to RBC, RBCs will die. But this is late in gestation, so the baby can still escape having lot of complication. There are only some antibodies which are produced, so mother can also be fine. But now she is sensitized. Okay, that means now the mother's blood recognizes the Rh antigens. It is like once the enemy has attacked, now they are prepared for the entire army, and they have prepared this army. Now there are antibodies in mother's cells, mother's blood, ready to attack any Rh positive blood that might come. If even by chance the child again that she conceives will be Rh positive, the mother's blood will attack that child's blood, and the child can die in utero. Okay, the child can die in the tummy. Even the mother can become serious. This is a serious reaction which can happen, and it can be fatal to both the mother and the child. The first pregnancy, she might be able to escape. The second pregnancy, she won't be able to escape. So recognizing this and knowing about it, that Rh negative woman, if she is having an Rh positive husband, it is possible that she could have this Rh positive baby. Basically, this is what is happening. But we have got something called as an injection which can counter it. We can take care that this kind of things do not happen. Okay, not this. I hope, oh, I have missed. So there is an injection which can be given at before the delivery, and we can protect the mother and the child both. So basically the awareness is important. Okay. Now coming to rare blood groups. This is just more of a general knowledge thing than anything else. Tell me, is everything clear till now? Only then we should be discussing about the rare blood groups, otherwise we should omit it out.
Ma'am, it's clear.
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Very good.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Like, why do we need this blood antigens?
Why do you, it is not actually a case of, yes, this is something which is very surprising, or it is something that we have come in with the evolution. So this is some feature that we share with all the monkey family. So the chimpanzees, the rhesus monkeys, the bonobos, everybody has these blood types. And these are not the only blood types. Okay. So this is probably some kind of labeling system. The usefulness of it, I don't think till now we know, or at least I don't know what is the use of this. The thing is that we find that knowing it is very important, not only for blood transfusion, but also for other organ typing and stuff like that. Okay. So now this is the rarest RH null or golden blood. Okay. This RH null or golden blood is what? That means it doesn't have the RH antigen system. Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that we were talking till now that either the parent will give capital D or the parent will give small d. Okay. This is the RH system. Either the small d system or the big D system. There is a system with which they will be, through which they decide whether they will be expressing antigen or not expressing antigen. When this system is not there at all, okay, neither capital D is there nor small d is there, nothing is there, and the blood is absolutely devoid of this entire D thing, then it is the RH null or golden blood. Is that clear? Okay, this is the rarest blood group which is present. And
Ma'am,
yes,
can you explain this once more time?
yes, I can explain this once more. See, we have a system. Basically, as I said, that the RH system is not just one thing. It is the expression of some, I think, around 45 antigens. Okay, but either you express this 45 antigens and become a capital D, or you do not express and become a small d. Okay, the small d and capital D are just for denoting whether you will be expressing or whether you will not be expressing. That means the system to express this is there, inherent in the red blood cell. When it is not there, that whole capability of any kind of expression or repression is absent. It is called RH null group. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now we have something called as Bombay blood group. This is what Ramanan had asked, right? Ramanan, you had read somewhere. So in Bombay blood group, while the null blood group deals with the RH blood group system, the Bombay blood group deals with the ABO blood group system. Okay. So what had we said? We said there is A antigen expression, it will become A blood group. We said if B antigen is expressed, it will become B blood group. If it is A and B which is expressed, it will become AB. We also said that if it is not expressing anything, right? If it is not expressing anything, it will become O. Now, can you see these spikes? Okay, which does not express any antigen, but they are there. What is that? That is an H antigen. What is it called? H antigen. Okay. This and H antigen, above that there will be the A antigen or B antigen or no antigens. When this H antigen is not there, when the H antigen is not there, and we have a cell like this, okay, this is the H antigen present and this is H antigen absent. When the H antigen is not there, there is A, B absent in both. But when H is also absent, then the entire ABO system's spine is absent. and then it becomes Bombay blood group. Okay. Now the problem with Bombay blood group, anybody knows what is the problem with Bombay blood group? It is one of the rarest blood group, and they discovered it when some of the people who were called as O negative, they were given O negative blood, but they still had a reaction and passed away. Okay. So why did they pass away? The reason why they passed away, or that person passed away, was because in our ABO blood group system testing, we test for A, we test for B, we don't test for H. Are you getting it?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
getting it? Right? So when we are testing, you have already seen how we test for blood groups. When we test for blood group, we check for A antigen, we check for B antigen, but we don't check for H antigen before we say it is O, A, B, whatever. Okay. But if the blood group is O, then you must, O negative especially, then you must also check for H antigen. Then only you can be sure that it is O blood group or it is Bombay blood group. Is that understood? Now, there is a very small number of people who are actually having this blood group. It was discovered from somebody in Bombay. They have a registry of those people who are having this blood group, and anybody needs it, they contact each other. If somebody is having an accident, somebody needs some kind of blood transfusion, they check in with this registry and reach out. Is that understood? Shall we go forward? Very good. So now you can see the blood group. When it is A, it represents AH. When there is B, it gives BH. When there is AB, it is ABH. Okay. And the interesting part is the antibodies. So when it is O, the antigen is H and the antibodies are AB. But when it is Bombay, then there is an antibody to H also. Is that clear? Clear to everybody? Let us go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is where we were. Now I am again trying to get you a little bit familiarized with the blood test. So we found that once we centrifuge the blood, we get 3 layers. Okay. The first topmost is plasma. Second is the buffy coat, which has got leukocytes and platelets. The third one is erythrocytes. Okay. Now you can see this erythrocytes are taking your 44 to 45% of blood cells, the space they are occupying. What is that? That is the hematocrit. When you look at the report, okay, you will find hematocrit mentioned. The hematocrit is this volume that it is occupying, 45%. That is the normal. Okay. The rest is plasma. Now, when from this buffy coat, we will separate this buffy coat out and look at the leukocytes, and that will be put through a cell counter. And in the cell counter, it will be counted as to how many WBCs are there, how many neutrophils are there, how many lymphocytes are there, how many eosinophils, monocytes, basophils, and that can give us a clue as to what kind of infection or condition could be there. Okay. Now, in the erythrocytes, there are other indices. I will come to that. But this plasma, okay, this plasma has got 2 kinds of things. Number one is there are the clotting factors. Clotting factors, this is one thing that I am not taking to you because we really don't have time today. But the blood actually has everything to clot, and there is an entire system which works. So those factors are present in the plasma and they can be estimated. Not only that, all your antibodies to the different kinds of bacterial invasion or those can be also checked here. Here is where your IgA, IgMs, all the immunoglobulins, antibodies that we are continuously talking, that will be coming here and you can check it in this. Okay. And then comes the RBCs. The RBCs, what do? We first pass them through a cell counter and find the number that gives us in millions per deciliter, what is the number of RBC which is there in blood. Then there is something called as the MCV, okay? That is mean corpuscular volume. What does mean corpuscular volume mean? It only means how much space each blood cell occupies, okay? So there can be different kinds of size to it, okay? So like this is one size, this is another size, this is third size. You have three sizes of blood cells. When you say mean, you mean you take all the sizes together and take the average of that. That will give you mean corpuscular volume. So that will more or less say what is the average size of the blood cell. Is that clear? The third thing that we find out is MCH. That shows how much hemoglobin is present in each cell. So there can be some cells which are pale. There can be some cells which will be more red. It will depend on how much of hemoglobin is present. So it is about the concentration of hemoglobin. So
Ma'am,
yes,
ma'am, after centrifuging the blood, ma'am, then
yes.
what they will do to the plasma and the Buffy coat?
They will test it. See, Buffy coat, they have to take it and they will separate out all of this. This they have to test now. For all of this now also has to pass through the cell counter. Okay, the cell counter, based on the number of cells which are passing through it with certain speed, it will count and give you the number of RBCs, number of WBCs, number of platelets which has crossed. The plasma they will separate out and they will take it and they will test it with different reagents which will clearly give us the idea as to which disease can be there. We know now, right? We can also estimate the presence of different proteins or different other things, like we can find out whether patient has got jaundice. We can find out the presence of enzymes. We can find out what is the level of hormones. Each one is a very specific test and needs different kind of reagents and different kinds of process and procedure, which is there in the lab. But this is the primary thing that they have to do. Okay, is that understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So this is where, as I said, MCV is the average size of RBC, and MCHC can be calculated. MCHC is mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. If you get it, fine. If you don't get it, is fine. It just means how much of hemoglobin is present in the RBC. Okay, so there is a lot of RBC which is present. Inside that, how much of hemoglobin is present. Okay, so that is what is mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration, and you can also get it through this formula.
What is corpuscular?
Corpuscular is just, see, we say red blood corpusculars. You know, it is red blood cells is one way of putting it. Otherwise, for cells we use corpuscles. That's all. Okay. Now let us look at this lab report. So everybody's attention here. What do we see? We find that there is a complete blood count, okay, with differential. What does that mean, differential? That they will be now telling us very clearly as to how many WBC. How many WBCs are there? 5.2 thousands per cubic millimeter. Okay, so 5.2, we find the range is 3.9 to 11.1. So the WBC, this is the number of WBC in 1 cubic millimeter of blood. We have passed it through a cell counter. It has counted it. And this is what we have found. Understanding? Now the same thing is with RBC. How many RBCs? 3.51 million per cubic millimeter. Okay. Now we find that this is little less. Okay. It is 4.2 to 5.7. So this is come little less. Then we find out what? Hemoglobin. What is hemoglobin? It is, the hemoglobin is 14.5. Do you see that? I'm sorry for this noise. So this 14.5 hemoglobin is actually good hemoglobin. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? that
Yes,
the
ma'am.
number of cells alone may not actually be enough to tell you whether you are healthy or not. Some person could get worried thinking that, oh, my RBCs are only this much, but your hemoglobin is 14.5. It is all right. Okay. So one indice in its own cannot actually give you much idea. Now we come to the hematocrit, which is 41.2, which is again normal. You know what is hematocrit? It is the red blood cells in the whole blood. When we have centrifuged the downmost portion, how much volume it is occupying, that is the hematocrit. We have something called as platelet count. So that is 172,000. Okay. Then we have here the differential. Can you see this differential? In this differential, you have total neutrophil. Here it is according to the percentage. So how do they find out this? They will take one microscopic field and count it in this. Okay, like they will take many microscopic field and get an average of stuff. But then they will find out in one microscopic field how many neutrophils are going, and they will get an average percentage of that. So neutrophil percentage is 40.1. Okay, here it is said that 38 to 80, but still I would think it is a little on the lower side. The lymphocytes are 46, which seems to be okay. Now here, what do you see? That there is monocytes, which is 12.9. Okay, many times you will find the monocytes will be 0, 1, 2. 12.9, I will be a little like it, anything going to the upper normal or lower normal, I will be a little alert to why it is happening. Okay, so then we have the rest. So this is the basic blood report, and this is how you can actually look at it, and you can have your questions to ask. You don't have to conclude anything, but you can have questions to ask. Why is this like this? Why is the monocytes number more? You can ask. So these are the, if you know, you can ask, and you can be reassured that, oh, RBCs are less, but hemoglobin is fine, so it must be okay. That's all right. Okay. What else can we find? Is this clear to you? I'm sorry, I have put two slides together. So here again, we have hemoglobin, hematocrit, MCV, MCH, WBC count. What I want you people to do today as homework, because none of you has answered this blood test question. I want you to take this as a screenshot, or you can take it from the presentation, whatever, but I want you to give me some answer on how do you interpret this? What do you understand from it? Okay. Whatever comes to your mind is fine, because once you put down something, only then I can talk about it. So now here you see the total WBC. The total WBC is 16,390. I hope I'm reading it right. I have got glasses which I am not using, but it is high. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Yeah, I will need some kind of this to go on, right? So we have got a WBC count which is high. What does that say? There is some infection. There is no reason why WBC count has to go high. If WBC count is going high, that means something is somewhere wrong. We go down. And what do we find? We find that the neutrophil number is high. We also find that the lymphocyte number is high. But the neutrophils are much more higher than the lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are just above the normal. Okay. So in a very crude manner, probably this looks like a bacterial infection. Do you understand how we are finding that? Okay. Then we also check for platelets, and we find the platelet numbers are fine. The mean platelet volume seems to be fine. We have also checked for malarial parasite. It is not detected. These cells look normochromic, normocytic, and that would mean that it is also fine, right? So that is how we find. We can also find different vitamin levels. We can find vitamin D3 levels. We can find the different hormonal levels. And this is called as blood spot test of the newborn. This is something which is done in the first week. Okay. And in the first week, we take one drop of from the heel of the child, newborn child, and put it on that kind of a card. And with this, we can rule out so many metabolic disorders. So blood is actually a treasure trove for so much of information. It gets you the complete health data, even in one drop. It has got the whole information. And when you do it for the newborn, the first, by 1 week itself, you can actually take all the measures which are required so that the child can survive and can have a good and healthy life. Okay, this is the slide when the normal blood has got this RBCs, and there are few WBCs. In leukemia, there will be a crowd of WBCs. So when you see a slide which has got so many, the WBC number, you find that it has suddenly jumped up very high. That is absolutely abnormal. You have to be concerned about it. Okay, it can happen with leukemia. This is sickle cell anemia. This is a case when something happens that we were talking about, the red blood cells being pliable, right? This is the cell and it can very easily bend and move around. But in sickle cell anemia, it precipitates in a manner that it is like sickle, you know, right? Which is used in the farms. Aware of it? It is like a, what should I say? Wall. Malayalam is wall, right? No sickle. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
So that it will, the hemoglobin precipitates in a hard manner. Okay. And now when there is in a sickle form, then when it passes through any kinds of blood vascular structure, it will break down. Why? Because it is now become brittle. It has lost its pliability and it will result into sickle cell anemia. That is how this is probably created, right? So we also have different kinds of ways in which we can find out HIV. You know about ELISA test. It is done with the serum. You know, this is the hepatitis B virus. It can be seen in the hepatitis B virus. How do we find out? Through its different antibodies, which will be seen in the serum. We can also find dengue and dengue virus things. It can be done again through the antibodies. Okay, so we find it out in the plasma. Then there is now Zika virus. So all these things can be found out by the specific antibodies that they give rise to and can be seen in the blood. There are also enzymes which are present in the blood. And when there is, each enzyme has got some normal level. When it is elevated more than that, that means something is going wrong with that specific organ which is producing that enzyme, and that can alert us. Okay. So one more homework I am giving you today. I will try to put it in your this. You have to tell me, all of you have to present one answer about what is HB1AC. Okay. You can write it down. I will also send it. Okay. It is,
Ma'am, can you repeat?
what is HB1AC? HB1, all are alphabets. HB1AC. Okay. Find out why it is done. What does it indicate? Whatever you can find out about it. So this was the interesting question which we have come. Can vampires get infected? Vampires, what do? They drink blood. Okay. So where does it go? It goes to the stomach. If it is going to the stomach, the acid will more or less destroy it. If the acid destroys it, they are not actually going to get infected. Okay, if that is the way things are working. Now let me finish this talk, but I would want you to see this one malaria video and then we can close. So this is your mosquito which sits on the skin and it probes, trying to find out where is your blood vessel. Blood vessels are everywhere, but it needs the meal. As you know, this is a female mosquito. Only the females drink blood. The males are vegetarians. Okay, she is probably needing it for her eggs. Now, once she finds one good place to suck the blood, she sucks it from there and it is going to her this. But at that time, if she herself is infected with malarial parasite, it will be passing from her saliva to the blood of the person she has bitten. The malarial parasites are passing down from her saliva to the place. Now, where do they go? From the blood directly, because it has to be filtered. It reaches the liver. The liver has got very dense kind of sinusoids. Okay, so the malarial parasite is moving there, happily finding its place and moving in the sinusoids. So there, while it wants actually to find an outlet, how to go somewhere else, and ultimately it finds a Kupffer cell which is very near to another blood vessel, and it enters the vascular system. Okay, when it is there in the liver, it makes that cell die, and it also reproduces there, and it produces more number of parasites, and then all those parasites are dumped into the blood circulation. You can see this is happening by the 7th day of the bite. And these malarial parasites will now get into the blood and circulate and produce malaria. And these malarial parasite, when we check the blood and we check for the malarial parasite in the blood, we can see them and we can diagnose the malaria. Okay. Now, this is what is happening in the human blood cell. What happens with the mosquito? So this is basically saying once it is in the blood circulation, it gets into the RBCs. Okay. Whatever malarial parasite we are detecting it on the slides. And we find that one by one, the RBCs are being destroyed. They are used to produce more number of malarial parasites. The person get infected with malaria and the person suffers the consequences of malaria. And this is the way malaria, the mosquitoes infect. Okay. Similarly, there is something that is happening in the mosquitoes' body also. So this is basically how it is spread. Okay, and yeah. So in the mosquito, what happens? In the mosquito, the thing has reached its stomach, right? Once it reaches the stomach, then the mosquito is not suffering from malaria, but they develop into sexual forms, and there they are becoming the gametocytes. And once they become the gametocytes, then they reproduce together. Okay, and once they've taken the meal from this thing, they become the gametocyte. There is a malaria sexual stage in mosquito stomach, and the cooling blood triggers malaria sex. The male and the female gametocyte, they come together, and once they fuse together, they form a cyst, and this cyst is now there in the mosquito, and it will now again be present there in a dormant form. Again, when the mosquito is biting a human, it can infect the human. So here today, I don't know how much I have crossed the time, but all of you have been wonderful participants. I hope you understood, or at least this 3 days have created adequate interest in all of you to find out more. All about blood is everywhere around you, but now you have got some basic means, some basic manner in which you can approach this subject, and it will be based on how much interested are you in the subject that you will find out as much as you want about it. And I am open for any kind of questions, discussions. Please write down there. I'll be glad to answer. Thank you so much.